All right, 6 o'clock. My name is Mark Kyle. I'm the chair of the City of San Rafael's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and I am going to get the meeting started right now. So first I'm going to do is take attendance, and I will start with committee member to my left, Phil Mooney.
Present.
Our vice chair.
Sean Callaghan, present.
Okay, and myself making three. I think we have a quorum. So we understand one person will be absent and one person, Mr. Staff Person. I'm turning to the staff person for those who aren't able to see what's going on. And so I had saying there's one absent and one showing up late in a few minutes.
Right.
Okay, great. So have any of the committee members, and I want to welcome everybody, first of all, both our guests as well as our guest presenters, of which we have a whole slew lined up on one side of the room, and a few folks in the peanut gallery. Well, hopefully they'll make some comments later if they feel so inclined. And so the people who work with us here at the table. So whom I assume, Kelly, are you making a presentation tonight at all? Okay, so we have Kelly Abbey in charge of CBPP update, City Bicycle Pedestrian Plan update, and Joanna Kwok and Syed Fakbi. Am I saying that?
Close.
Yeah, close.
Okay.
Please correct me.
Perfect.
Awkward. All right. No, I wanted the correct pronunciation. Any issues or questions regarding the minutes of June 4?
No, none for myself.
Bill?
None.
Okay, the only question I would have that I will direct to staff is we had a long list of questions coming out of that. So at some point in time would be nice to have some follow-up on it. I'm not quite sure how to do that where I don't have my minutes. Is there a mechanism for that? Is there a precedent for that? I'm asking Phil or Joanna. I'm assuming you're a newer staff person, Syed, so you would not know.
Assumption.
Are you talking, we had some potential future agenda items? Those that
Well,
you wanted to
no,
talk
if you
about?
go to 3A of the June 4th minutes. Questions from the committee include, and then there's about 20 questions listed, which I won't go through. So at some point in time, I see AB 413 will be addressed tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
This is just a style of the meeting minutes, but we did answer the
Yeah, we
questions.
discussed- This was our
during the
discussion. Yeah,
Right.
they didn't, these aren't questions.
Okay,
They
so
didn't
413 will be going into in more detail tonight, which is good. Or anything else? Hi.
Hello, better late than never.
Hi, thank you, Christian. Christian just joined us for those of us who on the phone or Zoom who can't see anything. Christian, do you have any issues? We're just reviewing it and I'm misstating the content of the minutes from June 4th. And I'm trying to correct myself.
No, I have no comments.
Okay. So I am just going to recommend that they're approved as submitted and are submitted to the record unless there's any objections. Okay. Then let's move on to special presentations. Staff, anything that you want in terms of intro to the special presentations? Joanna, is that you? Syed?
Tim is here from Sun Valley Elementary School, and they're doing some site improvement on site, and also they're looking at some off-site.
My name is Tim Ryan. I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Facility Planning for City of San Rafael Schools. And we're here tonight with Bob Marcucci, the Deputy Superintendent, and Corey Bannon from BKF Civil Engineer. And we have a safety improvement project that we're doing that we've come to the city to talk about some encroachment permit issues. And we are making some improvements. And in doing so, Syed's like, hey, could you come show it to this group? So that's why we're here tonight. This isn't a public input meeting, but guess what? We're willing to hear anything. Anything that's a cost neutral change to make these things a better project, we are in. So I just want to say that we had a staff meeting in May. We met with the parents in June. We met with the neighborhood association in June. We met with staff again in July. And then we had a community input meeting at the site where we had 100 people come. We've gotten written requests from multiple people, 6 today about this meeting. And we've made iterations in all of our designs. And tonight we have a big change that you haven't seen in response to the input we've gotten from bicycle people. Because making it a better project the first time, we have monies one time. Right? This is bond funds that's being funded by the 15,000 homes in our entire district for the elementary school district. So if you can go to the first slide. So this is Sun Valley Elementary School, as you can see, 5th and Happy Lane. It's a 1-block street. We had talked about a way, the old Safe Routes to School plan recommended everyone come down the street and ride your bike into the parking lot. Therefore, there's constant pedestrian, bike, and car conflict. Currently, it's also set up that parking is here with 2 crosswalks that go through the center of all the cars dropping off people and all the bikes driving into the campus. So we're separating that out. What we're recommending and what we're currently in design development construction drawings, right? We're at that level, is making a 15-foot lane here. This is at grade with bollards in between, like you've seen over on, is it 3rd that has the bollards at the intersection?
Yes.
That brings you to a bike arrival court. And this is currently thought of to be student parking, and this is adult parking, right? And the comments we're getting from our community is, hey, could you make this a 15-foot? Yes, we are. Could you make it so that there's a bulb out? Yes, we are. Can you add more of parking for the cargo bikes, the double bikes, or the bikes that have 7 kids on the back, whatever it needs to be? And we're gonna look at that. We're gonna maximize that as much as we can. The thought is that we have anything we can do to separate out that conflict between automobile and car. I mean, automobile and bike, automobile and pedestrian. This is in response to input we got from Phil and from others as well. It isn't just you, Phil. We're not gonna name it. We know plaque involved. But we have other changes that we're also making. There was a garden here that's moving away. There is a marquee here that the city said move it further back so that we keep the lane open for visual, so we can get around that corner. Can you go to the next slide? This is a more detailed view of that. And this is a conceptual plan. We're in construction documents now. We did look at adding a second bulb out across the street. There's just not enough lane. We are doing a survey now to see if there's anything we can do to work out there. But what people don't realize when we talk about making improvements is we're only allowed to spend our money on our property. That is the bond limitation. But when we have an encroachment where we're going into the city, we work with the city to say, hey, we'd like to make this improvement at the entrance to our school. We aren't positive we could do anything across the street. We'll talk to attorneys if it's essential, but we definitely are going to do this improvement in the corner. Can I go to the next slide? A little more detail of what it looks like. We had talked to the city about maybe doing a curb cut here, but that's not a city standard, that we don't want to create an attractive nuisance that brings pedestrians across the street because they think it's a curb cut. So by making this a 15-foot drive lane, it makes it a very clear demarcation. Right now, there is a Transportation Authority Marin traffic guard at that intersection as well. And we have Hexagon, is that their name? We have Hexagon under contract right now that's doing a report on a warrant study to see if we can add a stop sign at that intersection. We don't think that there's gonna be a warrant for that. It needs 800 cars an hour for 4 hours, and I don't think we achieve that. We may have that for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, but we're waiting for the report and the recommendation. Can you go to the next slide? So the improvement is sidewalks all the way along Fifth Avenue. In the back here, there is some laissez-faire parking that is not marked, that people are parking perpendicular and their butt sticking out in the lane, right? So we're gonna consider doing a diagonal parking here. so that we can make it a safe lane, safe drive-through, but have a 6-foot walk lane all the way through. We're also gonna improve that crosswalk across the street. Currently, there's a city crosswalk that brings you to a curb cut, and then you're on our property. So there's no demarcation or no curb cuts. This is a rolled curb with a bunch of asphalt. It's not very nice. And then there's also gonna be a ramp that brings you down. Now, we had thought about doing increased bike parking there. We're doing a study and doing a count. There's one kid that parks his bike back there. It's the same kid every day. I mean, maybe it's an adult. I don't see who rides it. Just one bike back there. We're not sure we're going to invest that money as we investigate, which may free up more concrete for us to make more carnival parking in front. I think that's my last slide. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, and compliments are okay too. We accept those.
Any questions from the committee? No? Good.
I have no questions. I have lots of compliments, but.
Good.
Bring it on, baby.
Oh, yeah. I've been pretty involved in this from the beginning. I think it's a pretty perfect model of involving community input and making a project better. I mean, the first thing I saw, I didn't like at all. Man, I love this. Sort of like all.
Oh, you were at the June meeting. You were when I had nothing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
From pretty early in the.
That's when we met face to face.
In the beginning of this, yeah. And I think, yeah, thank you very much. To me, this hits everything. I can, if other people have questions, my kids go here, I go to this all the time. I know this area well. I think it'll be a lot better. I think it also fits well into this committee's plans and all the different things we've heard about Fifth over the years and coming through and potential right away. This would, everything that I've heard into like our larger network, this would then fit very well into it. So I think, yeah, I could give more compliments, but I think this is great. So thank you.
It is our intention to try and build this summer. Honestly, we have a governing agency for all the work on our campus, which is the Division of the State Architect. They're in about a 6 to 9 month response time. So we've got to get our construction drawings in pretty quickly. That's why we're here today, to see if we missed anything, if there's a sour note that we didn't catch, so that we don't try and make those changes in January. We're doing our best to get in front of them. And then the city has been very helpful since Saeed's here, but you two, I'm not sure. But Saeed's been pretty great. And he gets us in a,
It's the easy project.
well, no, he gets to say no. He's like, no, you can't. No, you can't. Well, then we go to Corey and say, what can we do around that to achieve it? And it's been a great collaboration. So, Bob, you want to add anything?
No, just I think Tim has said it all, and we're excited about this project. If we go back even further, there's been a lot of back and forth between the city and the school district related to the traffic and some of the issues created there. You've got 500 plus families coming in and out of a dead end road all at the same time. And so I'm excited about this improvement, and hopefully it creates a better experience for families coming to and from school. So any input, all the input thus far, and any input that you might have is greatly appreciated.
And we will include a repair station. So it'll be one of those pieces.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Two more little things. One, it is worth mentioning, you're showing part of the project. This project has other really awesome stuff for the school too.
Yes,
Other
yeah.
community guard. We're sort of just seeing the transportation stuff. Overall, really, really awesome stuff. The other thing is at the front, the location of those garbage cans, the trash bins.
Can you go back 2 slides?
I assume there's a reason that it's right in the
Right there.
middle and in the front. Yeah.
Yes, because
Right now they're in an even worse place.
well, right now the enclosure is not used because the dump truck has to be able to drive straight in
Ah.
and drive out. So it has to be a place where we can approach it that someone can't accidentally be parked in front of. Because then if your garbage doesn't get picked up and it's full of food,
Yeah.
it's the thing. So
Yeah, kind of another reason too is just trying to provide as much separation from areas where students are congregating, where to pick this. One, it's gonna smell all the time, and two, you can get rodents or other critters that are gonna inherently be in there. So we're trying to separate that as much from the student population as possible.
but we like having it because it will have insects, bees that are attracted
Yeah.
near the
Or Monterey
plant
Way
that we
Station,
need.
yes.
We need to have insects and bees on it. So
Cool. Great. Thank you. This looks awesome.
well, you guys aren't scary at all, but I
When are you going to have this public? I know
It's public today.
Lots of parents.
It's on our webpage tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
This presentation and tonight that we came here tonight. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting to note is that in one of the comments that was submitted to the committee and is published along with everything else for tonight, it raises 3 points and you addressed all of them. A bulb out,
Yeah.
relocation of the signage and
Yeah, we had
cargo bikes.
We got 6 written comments and all of them were about, can you make this wider? Can you do a bulb out? And can you consider having additional parking for cargo bikes in the morning?
And it worked.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Can I ask what WFMU stands for?
It's the best radio station on the planet. It's
Okay,
a New
great,
York radio
great.
station.
I have all kinds of acronyms going. Yeah.
We're only scary when things there are scary though.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Is that your mom again?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
That was easier than the June meeting.
Yeah.
Anybody dressed up like a firefly?
Great. So let's move on to the Redwood Bike Share drop zone proposal. Okay, Mark Azevedo.
Yeah, that's me. Hello, everybody. Good to meet you all. Thanks for making some time. I'll try to make this brief. Do you have my slides in the present? Okay, perfect. Here we are. So we can go to the next slide. Are we all familiar with Redwood Bike Share and kind of what it's about and how long this is just an introductory slide. We're currently operating as part of a 2-year pilot program to provide first mile, last mile solution, originally to and from the SMART station. But I've been seeing and building on a lot of opportunities to build out the networks for our hubs in each town. So we can go to the next slide.
Wait, this is approximately 60, since we're doing a little background
Oh,
here.
sure thing, yeah.
The 60 hubs, though, that's projected or that exists?
So that was the original project. So the original project provided for 300 vehicles system-wide and then the 60 hubs. And on the map to the right there, you'll see the green dots. Each dot represents a hub.
Okay.
So that's only 60 places to park scattered throughout 7 different cities.
Right. And how many are in the city of San Rafael?
San Rafael, I believe, has it's either 12 or 14, but I have it on another slide.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, good. Since that's our jurisdiction.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to
thing.
talk about the whole thing, but that's all.
Yeah, no problem. So this is just briefly, 16 active hubs right now. Yeah. So throughout town, you'll see that most of them are concentrated around on and around 4th Street downtown. And then I have 2 in the Canal neighborhood down there in the southeast. And then up in Terra Linda, 2 stops at the Civic Center, 1 at the Smart Train Station, 1 up at the county buildings on Los Gamos. Yeah. And then there's a little pocket park over near off of Freitas Parkway. Yeah, where I'm stocking bikes. So in addition to hubs, what I've been able to do in other cities and what I'm, kind of presenting here today to hopefully do in San Rafael is to open up something called drop zones. And so drop zones are places, they're just additional parking places for people who are riding the bikes, parking opportunities. And the overwhelming majority of them take advantage of existing public infrastructure. So bike racks that are on the street, in front of libraries, at parks and that kind of thing. Once I get permission, I draw a digital geofence around them and I make them available as a parking space. And then they show up in our app as a place that somebody can end their trip. So that's been really effective. Getting people to provide use cases for people who maybe take the train, but then it's a mile to their house. And maybe there's a park in their neighborhood and there's a bike rack there. So this map right here, I know it's not San Rafael, this is Runner Park in Cotati. But working with both of those towns, I've been able to triple the amount of parking opportunities in that community and that kind of network. And ridership is through the roof. Actually, since SSU is back in session, their runner park and Cotati are two highest riding cities right now. So.
And that's a great statistic. I'm glad to hear that. Is that an increase because, or was it already on that trajectory?
It was, so generally ridership has been on that trajectory, and right when I was seeing ridership kind of level out in July, and I expected it to start to fall into August, just about mid-August when SSU came into session, it spiked. So I attribute it directly to that in that network. So so this also gives a couple of details about how I'm the operations manager for Redwood Bike Share. So I do things like this. I talk to stakeholders and potential sponsors, but I also run the team day to day. So everybody, like the people that you see out in our vans, if you've ever seen them, or maintaining the bikes, they're my crew. So directed to keep an eye on these drop zones. And if a bike is there if any bike is there for more than 24 hours, we go and pick it up and then get it back to a hub. So it's not just languishing in the middle of nowhere somewhere and not being useful. Next slide, please. So this is San Rafael. This is an example of what the network looks like downtown. And this is where I'm starting to get into. I did a little bit of surveying around town to try to find some spots that I thought would fit in well to the system. The hubs that we have existing are shown in green, and then the proposed hubs are going to be shown in blue. I split up the map because San Rafael's kind of large and spread out, so we're looking at downtown first. And then this is the spot that I was able to find up around Terra Linda on Montecillo Road. This is right at the beginning of a park, and there's a trail that goes up the hill there, but it's also within walking distance of the Kaiser facility up there. And I am talking to Kaiser to try to gain parking up at their facility proper, but right now this is as close as I can get. So, and so these next slides kind of show each location, I put, a visual showing the type of rack, the number of racks the number of hoops that are available. And then, my proposed parking, I'd limit, so for these 3 racks, I was unable to grab a photo of all 3 together, but there's another one right behind that gray car. So this, like when I look at racks like this, I see parking for bikes on either side. So this, I interpret these racks to represent 6 parking spaces. And so I'd limit to no more than 2 at any given time. So even if a bike hasn't been parked there for a full day, if I see 3 bikes at a location like this, I'm going to direct my techs to go and grab at least 1 and go and rebalance.
What would stop people from just parking them there?
So the system is a hub to hub system. So each hub in our system is geofenced in our dashboard, and the bicycles are like the system is app based. So you can unlock a bike at a hub, but then if you went to this place, this physical location right now and tried to lock your hub, you could physically lock it, but you can't end your trip. And so what that means is that every minute you're getting charged another quarter. And after several hours, that gets a little expensive. So what I'm hoping to do with these, and what I've seen work in other communities, is that by opening up parking, ridership tends to gradually rise. Yeah. Just because it's so much more convenient. And so the next slides, I can go through each slide. I'll just talk briefly about them. The next slides show the different locations. This is along 3rd Street over by Soul Food. Next slide. So this is obviously in front of the Goodwill there, right on Lincoln and 3rd. Next slide. Oh, One back, if you would, thanks. And then this is on Luton's in Fourth. And I grabbed this because this is kind of midway in between a couple of existing hubs. And I think the span there is maybe 3 or 4 blocks. But again, what I'm trying to do is kind of add density and make this, as convenient for people as possible so that, I'm just trying to eliminate speed bumps to people who want to use this, to be able to use it. And then the last slide is Freitas Park. And it's not my favorite kind of rack. You'll see it's kind of I call them wheel benders. But it's what is available in a place that I think would be really useful for folks. So, and that's the last slide in the presentation. I'm really hoping to gain your support, like make you aware, but also gain your support and also field any questions or concerns you guys might have, allowing a private company, a bike share, program, even though we're funded by a public grant, to use public infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Questions from the committee?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Well, question, comment.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's like one thing I've always wanted to try this out. And one thing that's deterred me is like I see a lot of the stands are all full. And so I'm like, if I'm gonna pick one up and go find one, am I gonna have to meander around to find a open one?
Find a
And so
parking
I think
spot.
having a drop zone is a great potential solution to this, maybe not problem, but something
Sure,
that's at
sure.
least
Yeah.
concerned me. How this I haven't gotten a chance to really ride it, so I don't know very much beyond that, but I'm curious of like what the operational cost per bike is for the
That's a good question. I'm coming up on 1 year worth of data. And so I'm gonna be tabulating that in Q4 just so I have a real time, like an actual number. I have conceptual numbers, but they're not particularly useful
Okay.
to me. So I don't have that number yet, but I expect to have it by my larger presentation in January.
And then I guess then going back on the drop zones, like, so. I mean, part of this is like mitigating like the total essays fare of like bird bikes, right? Of just scattered along the street line, leaning in the road. Where you're designating these things, it's all based on where there's availability for locking up the bikes, right?
Correct, yeah.
How much of like I don't know, I guess where's like the separation between like potentially like being able to just lock the bike up by itself, right? Because like if the mechanism that locks it to the anchor is the weak point, right? So locking itself to itself and carrying it off would be the next step, I guess. What would be the thing preventing that from being a drop zone of just being independent of?
Gotcha, yeah. So some of our systems do allow that kind of parking, right? Like you can some systems that my company operates, you can pay a premium to lock it in front of your house on the sidewalk, say. Each bike is equipped with a wheel lock in the back. So it's a hasp that goes through and immobilizes the rear wheel. So it can be, it is immobilized in that way.
Yeah.
And then each one has a tether that goes around a lock. Does that help answer your question, I think?
Sort of. I
Okay,
guess then
sorry.
the next follow-up would be then why are we limiting it to just certain areas, I guess?
Yeah, so that was the original, the project goes back a long way and it's kind of a long answer. But because these are electric bikes, and like at CTCA and then TAM, who are my main 2 stakeholders, they administer the grant. During conversations that happened before I started, they decided that they wanted a hub-to-hub system and not just a scattershot, kind of bird bike approach, because of the problems that are kind of inherent to that particular solution.
Yeah.
So they wanted to try something different up here, and that also helped kind of limit the scope to work within the constraints of the budget. But I don't know the particulars of that conversation.
Any other questions? Because I have a couple. I will.
Question and a comment. As I see the use of the bikes, I see a lot downtown in Santa Fe, and you have a number of hubs downtown. But in the limited downtown area, to me, it makes sense to add as many drop zones as possible. I know maybe operationally that could be more of a challenge, but it seems if you're driving a truck down Fourth Street, you
Yeah.
see a number of racks.
Yeah, sure.
The city 8 or 9 years ago now installed a number of bike racks along Fourth. We did a parking survey. There are many more than the ones. They're the
Yeah.
U style. And so I totally get not having like bird bike, strewn all over the city, but to me, locked up to the designated bike racks that are supposed to have bikes.
Mhm.
Sort of along our commercial corridor makes a lot of sense, even if it could go a little further down the Miracle Mile, I think that would be beneficial too.
Mhm.
It's your company and your bikes, but I would not be opposed to more spots on Fourth.
I saw a number of those locations and I scaled it back because the GPS data that we get from the bikes, the locks, the wheel locks that I mentioned, each has a GPS module that pings our server. But it's only accurate to within about 100 feet, 150 feet or so, depending on the weather and obstructions and that kind of thing. So if I try to get, capture drop zones across the street from one another, it may report over here, but it's over here. And if it's reporting over here, that's where my tech is going to design his route to go. And so tight places. So that's why I spread it out a little bit more. But that said, there are opportunities to add more density without running into that. So if there's support for that kind of approach, I mean, for me and from my point of view, more parking is always better. Yeah.
Because at this point, you're not increasing the number of bikes.
No,
So it's
certainly
not
not.
like all of
No.
a sudden there's 1,000 bikes.
Yeah,
Or,
correct.
we still have our same couple
Yeah.
dozen bikes.
Yeah, the fleet in San Rafael, I didn't think to put it in here, is 75 bikes here in town.
Other things, there could be a larger density of bike racks in the canal. I'm not particularly familiar with where those locations would be,
Yeah.
but to me, that seems like it could be worthwhile.
I did a good amount of surveying there and I was chagrined to see not a lot of parking opportunities like, those public use style racks or really.
And that's good for our committee to know going forward. too.
Yeah, they're,
Cause we occasionally, they can tell you about it. Occasionally we have money for bike racks.
yeah, cool. Yeah, the canal can use it. I think you might know. So, yeah.
Then my other little comments are unrelated to San Rafael. I don't know if you knew that the Marin Municipal Water District is like currently installing bike racks at more trailheads. That could just be a thing to know.
Nice, okay. Thank
That
you.
is like ongoing now, like they're asking people to survey and they're put some in and they're doing more at other hiking spots, basically. That could be good zones too.
That's great because those are definitely destinations for folks who may be coming through on the train and that kind of thing.
Sean, any questions or comments?
No.
Thank you. Kind of piggybacking on the question of putting more drop zones in or possibly putting more drop zones into the canal district. What about, are there any plans for the expansion of just hubs themselves with more bikes, another hub with 5 bikes that could go into some place underserved
Sure.
traditionally, like the canal zone? A
So
couple of them.
to answer your question, there are not concrete plans, but as we talk, so like I said, we're currently the grant covers a 2-year pilot program right now, and I'm already talking to both TAM and SCTA about further funding opportunities, extension of the pilot for a number of years, and so on and so on. So depending on that support that we get, that would the intention is going to be to expand the system, add density with more bikes, and then free up funding for more hubs. And the Canal District is top 3 for me. I really want to serve those communities. I'm a lifelong resident of Sonoma County. I've cycled down here. I've been a transportation cyclist more or less my whole life. This project is really close to my heart. And the numbers that I've seen, one of our membership opportunities is, we call it an equity membership, but it's an income qualified membership for $5 a month, and you get 30 minutes of ride time a day. And so there's a community in Rohnert Park that uses it quite a lot, and the canal community uses that quite a lot. And so because those members account for a disproportionately high number of rides per user, I know that they're using it regularly and for transit, and I want to serve those people as much as possible. So
Great.
I'm pointed in that direction, but I don't have a path yet.
Good.
Can you pull up the map of the locations just so we can look at those?
Yeah, there are many in Terra Linda.
There are a handful. There's a concentration in Terra Linda and then downtown.
Nowhere would be a good community is the Glenwood area out on Point San Pedro. Because there's a few schools out there
Mhm.
and there's a big population and it's a commute alley right down Point San Pedro to downtown.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
And there's a number of communities along that route. Peacock Gap, McNear's Beach, which is a county park, I believe, city park. County, and they might be amenable to a hub or a drop zone there.
Okay.
'Cause
I'll flag.
hundreds of
that.
people go out there on the weekend.
It's amazing.
And it's not that far. It's all of literally 4 or 5 miles bicycle ride. So to downtown and to the smart train is not that far.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so those are the type of trips like those, getting that connectivity from main points of transit, the smart train out into, providing a network so people can get into town.
Right.
My next pass after work like this and capturing the drop zones that I can around populated areas, around with public infrastructure, is to start looking at other ground transit, bus routes and that kind of thing. And I'm working with Santa Rosa City Bus and Sonoma County Transit already to open up parking at or near bus stops on their popular routes so I can connect folks. And I'm seeing those connections made, so. Yeah.
I was just thinking of the Civic Center Smart Train Station and what neighborhoods there, Santa Venetia neighborhood, Northgate Mall and that. whole
Yeah, the
developing.
Arbor is, I think it's called Arbor Park up there, that little pocket park. That's as close as I was able to get to Northgate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something closer, because that's a big kind of transit.
No, I know. I need to, maybe I can need somebody in the economic development department that can get me in touch with the property owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck on that.
Yeah.
I can never keep track of who's on, where on that one.
Yeah.
Do you have an input form online for people to request a particular drop zone?
Yeah, it's, if you have our app, you can just get in touch with customer service. They field all of the written requests and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've gotten, a couple of dozen of them already, and I have a spreadsheet, kind of.
Cause I could see uses, like things that I noticed lots of our city parks are not locations. Almost all our city parks have some bike parking,
Okay.
which gets you close to neighborhoods. Yes, you probably have to ask the school district people that just left if maybe they don't want to mix that by school bike racks, but there's bike racks by all the schools and that sort of like, I was thinking of the schools because there's a number of schools on your Point San Pedro corridor you mentioned.
Exactly.
But
3 of them, 3 schools.
school bike share program, I hope it is successful and keeps getting used.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing, I'm seeing, like month over month, 15-20% ridership jumps. Like I said, there was a little flat spot on July where it was almost on par, a little bit over June. But August and September, I was really surprised by the numbers. So people are really finding it useful. And I'm making time to reach out to those riders who are really using it. So College of Marin, I'm talking to. I'd love to get in touch with Dominicans, see if we can open up something up there. So, yeah, there's that.
Do you have a map, maybe not in this presentation, showing the zones in the canal? Because as I'm thinking about it, I know there's one at Pickleweed.
Yeah, there's one at is it Carneros Market?
Cardenas.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Cardenas.
Cardenas,
Yeah.
right in front on the street on Bellum, right there.
Yeah.
Those are the two.
Because one thing that's occurring to me is, the traffic in the mornings is awful. And if people saw this as a means, I ride my personal bike and go around the traffic and,
Sure.
laugh at everybody. But if other
Yeah.
people saw the opportunity
Yeah.
to do that, because there were drop stations, throughout,
Mm-hmm.
that could have a material impact on, people using this as,
Yeah,
not just as an alternate, but actually a faster way to get where they're going.
right, right.
Especially if there's some like on the other side of 101 from, along the shopping market, where the folks, where there's often folks congregating for work in the morning. I think that, the car wash, there's just a lot of people transiting that area going to, their work.
Yeah.
And so drop-off zones over there would probably help connect people and get through that bottleneck along Bellum.
Yeah, yeah, I know, TAM has a big project over the next several years to improve Bellum and
Yes.
the 580 interchange and and
Yeah,
everything like that too. So, in the interim, yeah, I was scouring locations up and down Bellum to kind of open things up and place bikes in areas where they might be visible, and there are just not a lot of existing opportunities, which is not to say that there can't be something in the future.
yeah, there are places adjacent to the smart path where you could conceivably install some, like
Yeah.
the ramp that goes up to the smart path as you, cross.
Jacoby.
Yeah, exactly. And, some of the areas around there where it feels like there's, I just rode that way to get here from the ferry, and it feels like there are probably locations that could, fit or accommodate a rack
Yeah, sure.
or a station. So
Yeah,
there could be options.
Yeah, our footprint is relatively small. I think it's like 60 square feet for everything.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, well, once the canal bridge gets built and there's more improved bike paths to the city, then the increase will actually even greater.
Right. Right. Our future park at the south footing of the canal bridge would be a good location, but that's
Yeah.
probably a few years ahead of us.
yeah.
Go home.
No. I was like, I just want to remind for public comment
Yeah,
as
I
well.
was gonna do that.
Yeah.
But I was gonna milk this first.
I just saw hands raised, that's why I just wanted to let you know, yeah.
Thank you. Anything else, Sean?
Thank you very much.
Anything from folks back here? I'll start on the left and go from left to right, from the where I'm sitting.
Everyone kind of hit on most of the things that I was gonna mention because of other ideas and other spots to do it, but the only one I didn't hear that I think is low hanging fruit and easy to do is maybe the Terra Linda Community Center.
Mhm.
Gets you just one more major intersection out in that direction. But I would agree, things on Anderson on that side of the one might be handy as well. And definitely out towards Andy's Market or, I don't know what it's actually called, but the pirate ship park that's out there by Andy's, but that's a public park and might have accessible bike racks.
That's amazing. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
sure.
Which Andy's
Yeah, the Andy's Market way out towards,
Locklow.
San Pedro. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's like a little kids park in the back. you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big community center. It's growing and growing.
If we think and have other ideas to send you, do you have sort of standards for the racks and for visibility that you're looking for? Like I was thinking the Terra Linda Community Center is an awesome spot. Those racks are off the street.
Yeah. So
Behind the building.
for the drop zones, they don't necessarily need to be as visible as like my hubs, because I want the hubs to be visible so people see the signage and the bikes as they're going up and down Fifth and, that kind of thing. So, so for the drop zones, like they can be tucked away because, and then people will find them like through the app. And,
Cool.
when they're looking around, they look down, look up, oh, there's a bike rack, that must be it.
I have one more question.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yes, thank you very much.
Go ahead, and then we'll go back to you, Joe.
I was just curious if you had any data on what the alternative transportation methods that people who use your bikes would have been. Like, do you have any collection for that? Like, were they walking to work? Were they?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the short answer is no, but I can extrapolate based on the data I do have, because we don't track anybody until they start a trip. Like the tracking doesn't begin until then. So we don't know exactly how they got there, but we can see that, every trip that I'm just gonna assume that every trip that starts at a smart station, they took the train in.
Yeah.
That may or may not be true because, the stations are centrally located. But that's how I kind of extrapolate. That's as best as I can do right now. Yeah.
So you had a comment and question?
Yeah, first thing, I just want to add another vote for Mark at McNear's and for Marley at Andy's local market, because somebody can take the train. They can hop to Andy's, get a sandwich, go have a picnic at McNear's Beach. And then the other thing is, I'm just kind of curious, like if I don't have the app and I just see the bikes, how would I know where these new drop zones are? I don't know what I don't know kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in order to see the drop zones, like I don't have any physical representation on the drop zones yet. That's another question that is usually asked later. But so there's no, without the app or without, I do have a Google map that shows every drop zone and every hub location that's accessible, whether or not you have the app. I was receiving feedback that people didn't want to just have to get the app to know where to go. So I do have that, and there's a link to it on our website. But those are the two ways that people.
My idea, and I don't know how it worked in Cotati and Santa Rosa, but my idea is that the super users will kind of influence and emulate so that like once they start seeing the bikes parked other places, then they're like,
Exactly that.
oh, I can park this here too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've seen happen.
So at least if you have it loud and clear in the app, that the people are already using it can kind of teach the others.
Yeah, that's right. And some cities have let me start treating the drop zones as hubs. So I will pick a place that in an underserved area and stock like one bike over there. So then people in the community are seeing the bike at that location. Yeah.
Just as long as some people don't get mad thinking it's the kind of like the bird bikes being moved in the city.
Exactly. I'm treading lightly.
Perfect.
I'm being very careful.
Okay, thanks.
Dave?
Thanks for the presentation. I think this is pretty obvious, but continue to double down on the last mile concept, just, connection with transit. Because I think that combo is such a huge unlock for our community in Centerville. Like, I also like, especially for if your trip, your round trip is maybe on transit the entirety of like the way there, and then on the way back, you can kind of like figure out a way to use one bus and then a bike to complete your return, or, for me, just as an example, I bike to the ferry. Some days, I gotta get my bike repaired by the ferry or something like that, or, I have to figure out an alternate way. So like the network effect is really helpful, and, the combination, the idea of that last mile connection is really helpful. So, there was a new station, relatively new station by the former Best Buy at the West End Centerville here, and that's a great one. I haven't used it yet, but like, if I took the bus from San Francisco back to Centerville downtown, and there were no buses going west, I could just get on a bike and drop it off at the West End and walk the rest of the way home, kind of thing. That could be a complete trip for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's I'm exploring and kind of seeing what's possible in some other communities where there is a little bit more existing infrastructure, like I said, near bus stops. But ultimately, that's what I would love to do, is to have, on the most popular routes, have either parking or hubs at those bus stops so people can go to from and make those connections. Yeah. Because the places where I've been able to implement it, I'm seeing the use cases that's happening already. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move it along because we have a few more.
Yeah, I know you guys
items.
have a
Mark,
lot. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
tonight. Thank you guys very much
Thanks,
for
everybody, for
the
coming.
engagement and the support. Really appreciate it.
We want to see more bikes out there.
Yeah, solid. I'm working on it.
Okay. Other agenda items. 4A has been removed. The person who.
Yeah,
presented-
presenter was not available tonight, so we're gonna move it to a future meeting.
Perfect. Thank you for the
Thank you.
explanation. And who's presenting on Assembly Bill 13? Okay. Sir, would you like to say it? Would you like to take it away?
I'll take a shot at that. So AB Assembly Bill 413, daylighting law. And it went to effect in January 2025, which basically says vehicle prohibited from parking 20 feet from the marked or unmarked crosswalk. And we just talk about unmarked crosswalk, any intersection, even if key intersection is a crosswalk, but even if it's not marked. So that's a legal place to cross. And then within 15 feet of the crosswalk, if there's a buffer. The good thing is our city code already had 20 feet, no parking in the city code, municipal code. So we didn't have to change the code and comply with the AB 413. So you can see some of the pictures here. Without AB 413, the approach to crosswalk is shorter than 20 feet. And then some of them are 20 feet. And then some location even are longer than 20 feet. So next slide. So the question is, which we receive from residents through email or C-click fixes, why don't you do this at this location? Why don't you do that at that location? And it's in downtown areas, I mentioned there are lots of them already, but there might be lacking. But throughout the city, it's a huge job. So you can't really do it all at once. So we have a kind of implementation plan into phases. And we presented this to the traffic committee, internal parking services and police and fire and all those. And we came up with the plan that first phase should be downtown area. And then it's, it's for safety of pedestrian and bicyclists and visibility. So we'll start with the downtown area and hopefully we'll finish it by end of 2025. This might require some removal of parking meters or covering it, which is now, or painting it and using it for some other. And then the phase 2 of implementation are areas that vulnerable users, for example, schools and senior housing, community centers, parks. And we're planning to do that in 2026. Phase 3 is all neighborhood after we finish, obviously, phase 1 and 2. And then all other location that you receive, request through C-click. So that's kind of basic. Maybe it will be done hopefully in 3-4 years or depending on. And we are also doing, most of the downtown and area that are red curb, we extend the red curb, it's shorter. Some areas that there are no curbs, no red curb, because of maintenance, we might do signs like no parking from here to crosswalk. So that's easier to maintain it. Next slide, or this was finished?
This is the last one.
The last one.
Any questions from the committee? Or comments?
Quick comment. I think the phased plan makes sense, and I think this is good. Do you think it would be the implementation would be possible? Like your phase 4 is the request from C-click fix. Not knowing how this is actually done, to me, it seems in the scheme of things relatively easy to paint a curb and could show Department of Public Works as being very reactive to community concerns. If that could just go onward. Now, if that messes up the whole thing, that's a different story. I say this as someone who is frustrated. There was a red curb that I wanted painted and I was loud for quite some time until it happened. And I think I always hear from the community that oh, the city does nothing. They're not reactive enough. And maybe this could be an easy way. I don't know what it would take, but I don't know how many requests you would get, right? Like if there's 5 requests, maybe you could just do them. And if it's 100, then you're like.
I think some of the C-click fix will overlap with our plan. Say it's in downtown, correct? Well, we will do that. And I think we already know some of our C-click fixes in front of schools. So it will be addressed ahead of time. It's the areas that's, outside these zones that we put priority, then that will be properly categorized as fourth. But yes, there will be ongoing overlap with cyclic fix.
I just think it'll be frustrating, if it's end of 2025, then end of 2026, and if canal's 2027, and if you request something and they're like, yeah, we'll get to it in 3 years from now.
Yeah.
To me, it'd be an easy one, be like, oh, that is on the, our next swath of painting that we're gonna do, 3 months from now, someone's going out and we'll get that.
Some of this will be addressed with projects that we do also.
Sure.
So if we have a CIP project or resurfacing or some other projects in the vicinity, we always look for that.
Big gallon of red paint and a paintbrush and just send it out to every project.
One of the concern is these are all water-based paint. They removed it years ago. And the maintenance is a year and a half, you're lucky, 2 years.
Yeah.
Repainted, so that's also a concern. And that's why we go to sign when it's possible.
Yeah. Sure. I have a question. Are you on track to actually finish phase 1 at the end of 2025?
We have talked to our parking manager.
There's only 3 months left. Good.
Well, I think if you've noticed, we've actually started implementing some of it in downtown already.
Mhm.
So we're just kind of rolling out the rest of it using contractors or in-house staff.
So should we expect that there's going to be 5 cans and 5 brushes here at the December meeting so that we can do our share to help? Get out there. It's an honor to serve on this committee and you have to prove it. John, you have a question?
Yeah, my question / comment, and my experiences with the canal neighborhood most closely, where in many instances, there's little and maybe nothing that needs to be done to actually make the curbs 413 compliant. The question is enforcing 413. Because it's well known that from about 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., there are no traffic enforcement agents in the area, and thus you will see cars parked all the way around a curb, completely blocking a crosswalk. And everyone knows if you get up by 6 and move your car, nothing's going to happen. Calls to, traffic enforcement are, the caller is told, as I've been told but several times, we'll pass that along to traffic enforcement when they come on duty at 6 or 7 a.m. By which time, it's gone. And this isn't just like an annoying, person looking at their sidewalk saying a person shouldn't park there. It takes on higher valence because there are people crossing at all hours of day and night. It's a very active neighborhood. And while it's called a daylighting law, the safety issues are almost heightened in the evening and morning hours when, visibility is lower. So it's an ongoing concern. And then there's a final element as the canal fire a few months ago drives home, that people not only block sidewalks, they block fire hydrants. And, again, traffic enforcement, other than maybe once in a blue moon comes through, but not often enough for people to get the message that there will be consequences for blocking sidewalks, fire hydrants, et cetera. So it's both a pedestrian, but also a neighborhood safety issue. So to me, TBD is a little disappointing when, the city has now said, we're not going to really do anything about parking in the canal. And then it's sort of like, we'll get around to, 413 implementation when we get around to it. Not a very satisfying takeaway. So I think the question is what can be done now to ensure that the law as written in the city and state are actually going to be implemented.
As you pointed out in canal also, there's a lot of them already there. So
Right.
Just going to find it. And then obviously our aggressive in 2025. So the reason we put to be it so that once we finish these 2 phases, that might be even aggressive. In terms of enforcement, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's our parking management or parking services that do the red curb, not specifically PD. They might, but I think they have services at least around downtown, and we want to make sure that we are in close contact with them. Actually, the downtown is their idea that they want that to be done first, so.
Mhm.
you take your message and
Yeah, because the curbs are red. It's, the paint's there. It's not a painting question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any comments, Dave?
Thank you. First comment, for phase two, or whenever you start to prioritize schools, can you start to think about prioritizing, when you say schools, the whole route that's like safe routes to schools have identified as, you know, the key, the designated route, or the city has designated route along the bike routes, the safe routes to schools, because kids that walk and bike to school or to school buses, this would be highly beneficial to prioritize those routes. So not just like the immediate, you know, block around a school, but that entire route along the way to the school would be, I think, a great way to approach it. So please consider that. I also, I guess, a question is, would the city be open to partnering with the community to have a community day to paint some of these curbs and install some bollards or plastic, paint and plastic, to get some of this stuff done quicker? You know, maybe fundraise or get some man hours to help out on a Saturday or something like that. So,
Person hours.
yeah, excuse me.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
It's the wrong era. Take that back.
quickly.
Yeah, go, please do.
So based on the school frontage, I think our idea is, yes, the route. For example, the guide could be the yellow crosswalks, because that's within 500,000 feet of school, so those are the school. In terms of painting by residents, I think the paint a specific mix, and we rather have the city crew paint it. We have had cases where residents can't wait and they do paint, and we have to send somebody to, if the paint is not the right color or whatever it is, and then
That could be, we could partner with the city to do the right thing, hear the right paint, all that kind of thing.
we'll take the message to them.
Great.
But if we
We will
all
talk to Eli.
we could offer them food and drinks if they come out on.
Here we go.
We give
Maybe
them
Friday.
accolades, yeah.
Maybe.
Sure, the Public Works unions would love that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Friday, Saturday, maybe not work for the
I
staff.
was thinking of that myself.
Thank you.
Not to mention the liability of, oh, you had them, you know, some 7-year-old kid was exposed to X, Y, and Z chemical.
That just makes them stronger.
Any other questions or comments from the peanut gallery?
Yeah.
Dave, is that it? Are you leaving?
I have to go. We got bedtime and bath time. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
All right, let's go on to the next one.
This is me. I'll stand up.
All right. And your name and title?
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Gray. I'm a senior civil with the Department of Public Works. So the item I'm presenting on is our 3 and 5 year pavement maintenance management program plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a planning document that the city has put together with our consultant. It is looking at years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and what the planned approach, kind of phased approach is for pavement maintenance, rehabilitation across the city. It's a strategic planning document, so it allows us to kind of coordinate with utility groups, residents, transit agencies, and try to start getting more efficient in our pavement management programs. One of the other things that allows us to do is start looking at actually enforcing a moratorium. The city has a moratorium, but enforcement is hard when you don't have a plan to actually share with the agencies you're working with. The plan itself will be on the website here in the next coming days. That is the QR code. Photo on the right is just from last year, some of our efforts. The plan itself has the maps, the treatment methodology, you know, the reasoning behind what roads we're picking and how. So all that will be available for viewing on the website. This will also end up being presented to council in the upcoming months, so another public comment period. The website itself will actually have like an active Google map, so residents can zoom in, find their street, see what the plan is. And then next steps for just the program in general. So we're gonna do some crack seal and dig outs for the 2025 roads. So crack seal is just like spider web cracking you see. And then dig outs are localized areas of improvement and rehabilitation. The big maintenance project will go out to bid sometime winter, spring, and then start work after the rainy season for the 2025 roads and kind of just get into a rhythm of moving through the next 4 or 5 years with this. So I have the first 3 years, or at least the first year on the next slide. So this is for 2025. So we're up in Terra Linda. Map on the left, yellow is an accelerated slurry mix, and then the pink is a fiberized micro. These are typical preservation treatments we have. One thing I'll add and kind of the highlight for this group is taking the opportunity to have additional striping enhancements with all these roadways. So this is bottom right-hand corner is that green sharrow that's on First Street. That was from last year's project. So enhanced sharrows, enhanced crosswalks, high visibility. Also working to comply with AB 413 in areas that we're going through to kind of help, we're going to be in a big area. Go ahead and do it when we get through it. Next slide, please. So then 2026, Peacock Gap, Mount Marin. This one's a little small. Over here, and then 2027 down by Anderson, a couple of roads picking up in Canal, Anderson being kind of the primary arterial we're picking up. I think those are my slides.
Can you leave it on that one?
Yes, sorry, yes. So in coordinating with those enhanced visibility, enhanced pedestrian, so one of those coordination efforts is also overlaying with the bike and pedestrian plan and seeing where projects line up. So actually, can you go back one more? So for 2025, I just skipped over my bullet. We have a Safe Routes to School project along Nova Avalon. So that will get implemented as part of the 2025 roads. So just right along there. So keeping kind of all those projects together, bike and ped plan when we can coordinate. Okay, thank you.
Questions from committee members? Go on.
Yeah, is there, I appreciate the reference to sharrows and striping. Is there some way to know what's gonna go where, or is it just sort of ad hoc based on, what, I'm just trying to understand, how do I take this ceiling plan and in my head overlay, there will be striping here and sharrows there, et cetera.
Yeah, so in general, all of our crosswalks, we're moving to high vis crosswalks in areas where we don't have crosswalks, enhancing those. That's just kind of the general plan of the program. Existing sharrows are becoming enhanced sharrows. That's just kind of the standard. And then that overlay with the bicycle and pedestrian plan. We also have this program go to our traffic committee looking for areas that we've gotten C-click fix requests on. Are there requests for additional enhancements from that field? Working with Saeed and Kelly, areas of additional striping. In terms of actually seeing what's going in, that's developed as part of the construction documents. And so those become public when it goes out to bid and people can see those. But it is a coordination effort up until that point, making sure we're kind of talking to all the right people for areas of concern or areas of enhancement.
Yeah. So this committee, or AKA me, has been advocating that when a road is striped, that we implement any striping, any changes recommended in the bike plan as a default along that road. So whenever it's repaved, just like if it's just paint and plastic, we put it. I totally understand if it requires, big projects. I sort of wanted that as an official policy. It seems like it doesn't, people are reluctant to have it kind of as an official policy. But the reason that I think it matters is I don't know, was that 2 years ago, I made kind of a stink about Las Gallinas going up, was getting repaved. And I saw it at the last minute before it went to city council. And I made a little bit of a stink about it, and we got great additional striping. It was not going to follow the recommendations of the bike plan, which called for some different striping. And then sort of this community, people got active, and then we did get that. And so as part of that project, that also, and I advocated just for that Las Gallinas route up and over. That's what I ride every day. Part of that same pavement process also was paving Manuel Freitas, got repaved. And the bike stuff was not implemented on Manuel Freitas the same way. And we had a tragic accident that we learned about a few months ago at something that, in my point of view, was almost an oversight, right? Like if we should have implemented the additional striping that we did that the plan called for at the time. And so, I like that it's, you say it's going to come out in the construction documents. Is there a way for this committee to have some input of like exactly what changes are going to the bike lanes? Like, I think everyone knows I look at all these plans all the time. And so like when something gets striped, you could go through and be like, oh, whatever the downtown precise plan calls to do whatever this thing here. Is that possibility, or is it just too late? I just don't know in terms of you implementing it. And I think that is us being helpful. I hope that's us being helpful.
Yeah, well, I think what Gray kind of mentioned at the end too, it's like that is what we're trying to do, is to make sure we're aligned, especially with our update to the bike and ped plan. Right. And, usually we are posting the plans and specs onto our website too. So that's like, during the bidding process. But I think we can definitely incorporate like, a future update where we have the plans available to share with like BPAC, like, hey, here are some examples. Although I don't think they all necessarily have like bike or ped like recommendations from the plan yet.
Lots of them don't.
But yeah.
But some do. And I think of that example on Freitas Parkway, right? And that's something like I advocated really fully, and I just advocated for the one road I knew. And I wish I had mentioned another road, that could have used additional enhancements too. And that just got missed. Like when that project was going, and those recommendations were missed. And when I pointed out at city council, they're like, oh yeah, of course we should do that.
I think the other thing to add is that as a planning document, it buys us, this time last year, maybe I didn't know what roads were happening.
Sure.
So now being able to look ahead and say, okay, these are the roads we're planning on, buys us way more time to help keep that coordination going and bring it to this group in some form.
I would love that. Thank you.
So the question then is, what's the vehicle for providing that kind of feedback to interested groups, including BPAC, and then feedback to you and the team you're working with, so that those kind of upgrades actually do occur?
Yes.
Rather than they occur, they're viewed as being slightly deficient, and now the communities, well, why didn't you add this, or why didn't you add that? Or this is a problem and it was identified, why didn't you do something? So that there could be, so again, in an effort to be helpful and say, there are communities in the state, I learned, that are actually adopting municipal code requiring the exact kind of safety striping that you're talking about. Whenever any kind of public works takes place, Public Works Department has to put down pedestrian and bicycle safety measures, signage and I'm looking for the larger.
The county just did that, or at least they will soon. That is in the works for the county, for Marin County too.
Yeah, so back to the original
Right.
question of feedback. So the website will have, once 3 and 5 year go plan, the website will have a feedback form, related to roads, but also then related to bicycle and pedestrian, whatever the case may be, in correlation with Kelly and the bicycle ped update. I think also we've heard that coming back to this group, once we have more specifics on each section of roadways, is also something, Joanna, we can talk about. But then also knowing that we're checking, we're checking in our C-click fix requests, we're checking in on historical BPAC, not BPAC, bicycle and pedestrian overlays, downtown precise plan, like all those things are coming together. And now that we have an actual outlook for the next 5 years of this paving plan, it makes my job a lot easier to kind of overlay where those things are so that we have something to bring back to this group instead of just like us pointing at a map, right? Excuse me.
I think one really important thing to note too is usually bike and ped plans, it's a strategic plan as well. They're meant for like 5-10 year or more implementation. So sometimes like the measures, recommendations there may not necessarily always be the most, appropriate at the time when we are doing the paving projects. So, we have to really take that into consideration too, what the current codes are. So, sometimes what we're proposing may also deviate from what the bike and ped plan is suggesting.
Yeah, so all I care about is that we see and recognize that and then can judge if that is a good deviation or not. That is, yeah.
Other questions?
I think
comments
this is,
from the
I
committee?
think that's gonna be good.
Any questions, comments from the audience?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you could show the Peacock Gap slide. Just wanted to see if I could take a picture of that.
The itty bitty.
Getting ready to KOM all this fresh pavement. See him right there.
You mentioned coordinating with the bike and ped plan. You're also coordinating with the ADA plan?
So DOJ technical guidance has limitations on what is considered maintenance versus rehabilitation. So this plan aligns treatment options with available roads that fall into that maintenance category versus treatment options that fall into that rehabilitation category. And then the program is also sweeping up. We want this road to have this treatment. We need to upgrade this ramp. That isn't being done as part of the paving plan, but it will be done ahead of the paving plan, just for funding's sake. So yes.
Okay.
Coordinating.
And the new transition plan is picking up pedestrian improvements that the RFP just went out?
Joanna, I do not know.
I didn't hear the question, sorry.
Can you repeat that a little louder, please?
The recent RFP for the ADA transition plan, did it include pedestrian improvements for the right of way?
Our ADA transition plan includes both right of way and on private properties. So we're really gonna be working with our consultant to kind of scope out what the transition plan update will look like. Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Thank you. Good questions. Anything else? Staff? You see you consulting there?
Just follow-up question on my own. I'm okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last but not least, the Spinnaker Point traffic calming pilot project.
So that's me again. This is an update. The timeline, the community concern actually was on speeding and safety historically. City received those through emails, comments, ClickFix. And then city decided to do a pilot project. Like a consultant, and he looked at the street as Spinnaker, and they proposed some of the low-hanging fruit kind of fast design that the city crew can install it with the coordination with the police department and fire department. So they installed the phase 1 design and then started data collection in terms of feedback from community on the website, and also some survey of the speed and volume in July of this year. And now we are actually in phase 2, design and engagement. Basically, the purpose of phase 2 is take that feedback from community, look at the speed and data from departments and also from residents, and also from speed and volume, to see where are we in terms of speed and volume. So we looked at that and we came up with phase 2, which will be, phase 1 was really kind of temporary, and phase 2 is a little bit more of a not exactly permanent design, but more durable design. And then And the phase two implementation will be end of this year, November, October, and then we will start back monitoring and feedback. So the next slide. So some of the current condition you see at Spinnaker and Catalina. There's a painted traffic circle with the cones, and the cones eventually got hit. At our fire department, you can see that tested the location of the circles. Basically, the circle impact is when you turn, you have to slow down. And then, that impacts your turning movement. Also, we added some marked crosswalk at all four corners. The fire department, as you see their apparatus, they don't want any fixed object to hit the bottom of the fire or any of those. So they are really not in favor of doing even a short curb or anything. So it's just for, give the drivers a cue or a clue how to drive around the circle. So that's what was implemented. And then the next one.
So what, that was the final project implemented?
That's the pilot. That now we are revisiting. And then this is current condition at Spinnaker and Newport. And this two locations were after our consultant, Fair and Pierce, looked at the street and used their judgment, a professional judgment, and they came up with this circle idea and crosswalks. So at Spinnaker and Newport, they extended the median, that we had a hard median with these channelizers. And also at Newport, you can see kind of created a refuge island for crosswalk. This really basically helped pedestrian a lot. So when they cross the street at the median, they have kind of a refuge, although the refuge is on one side, but also they can look at street and treat it as one way. They don't have to look at both ways. They look at one side and cross to the median and wait and then cross. So it makes it simpler. On Newport crosswalk, it's actually, they had a place where they created a nose, a kind of a real refuge island where people crossing the street are safe. It also impacts the speed when you make a left turn to Newport. You have to slow down, otherwise you hit those channelizers, which I'm sure many people hit it. So those were the two that they implemented at two locations. We got the community feedback. They were basically about the timeline, effectiveness, and some people were really confused about the design. What is the purpose of it? The data collection that we did in July for a week really looked at traffic volume, speed, and vehicle types. And the conclusion was, somehow the pilot was effective in terms of measuring the speed. A refined design is needed, and also look at additional traffic calming measure, or look at the result of this and implement it at other location of city as a quick measure. In terms of speed, what we call is the 85th percentile speed, which is determinant in posting speed limit. That's what we look at. That means the 85% of the driver drive at or below that speed, and then 15% always drive above it. But then in this case, which is 25 miles per hour, the 85% did drive around 25 and under it. So we consider that as being effective. And so if we define the term speeding issue, a street like this, when 85% comply with the posted speed to drive at or under, it's considered as really not an issue, but there's always the outliers. So taking all these findings, next slide. What we are thinking is make the circle a little bit more visible, but also if fire department happy, we will make it wider striping. I think we have striping, which now is probably 18. And then we add also reflectors. Those are like less than an inch to less than 3/4 of an inch. Yellow reflectors, so when people come from all directions, even they see the reflection. So that helps at least the circle to be more visible. And then if you look at the sign, how to drive around the circle at the top, traffic top right, and we post that at blue dots at the area where people drive to go around the circle, not left side. Drive on the right side of the circle. And then if you look at that median, we are going to remove most of the bollards and add, since it's median center line, we will add a curb, rubber curb, striped yellow, black rubber curb, striped yellow. So that's kind of a permanent, and the other option is to do permanent concrete island, but at this stage we are thinking to do permanent, kind of more durable curb, rubber curb. And then at Spinnaker in Newport is again do the same thing, to remove most of the bollard, keep at the corners, maybe 4 bollard, you see those, and then add the rubber curbs striped yellow. So that creates refuge at Newport crosswalk and also some kind of protection from cars when you cross the street, and also to impact the left turn speed, since you have restricted area to make a left turn and you cannot really cut. So these are what we call phase 2, correct? And I think the purpose is here also to and that's the area enclosed in blue. So we'll present it here and get feedback from committee and also from
Anyone else? Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee members?
Yeah, I've got a few. So the first question goes to the 85th percentile speed you were referencing. And I wonder, there's a public comment in our packet that seems to, have a different perception of behavior. And I wonder if, so 85% is 17 out of 20. So 17 people can do a safe thing. And if 3 people are being, reckless, then that stands out, of course. Is there some way to measure the impact on the outliers or take measures that would try to discourage outlier behavior? Because I think the turning stuff makes sense, but probably the real problem is people who just gun it straight down this wide, straight, stretch of road. That's probably what really has folks, nervous.
Yeah, couple of things we do usually, we look at the speed and those outlier. We look at the time of it. Is it repeating? Is it specifically at night? Is it the time of the day thing? And then we inform our PD or enforcement to look out. We did not see really a pattern on the days or time. It was, a couple of them in the peak hour in the afternoon, but it wasn't really visible to tell PD to go to specific time. But we ask PD to do enforcement as much as their time allows it. And then the other thing is really residents, when they see somebody reckless all the time and they know it's probably their neighbor or whatever, somebody's working in the area, then they can report that to PD. And that's perfectly okay because PD won't,
I think that would also give us more data points too. Like if we need to identify specific times of day. And I think I was looking at the findings, and I think the outliers that we're kind of talking about, their speed was probably somewhere between like 35 to 45 miles per hour.
Yeah.
In like a 25 mile zone. Yeah.
and most of them were in the 30s, but yeah, there were some faster.
Yeah.
There's also, we are also looking at, we are currently, that comes next, but at the AB 43, just like downtown, we did reduce speed to 20 miles per hour. So we have added this segment also for our consultant to look at that too. So that's, I think, very effective to reduce speed, but speed limit sign to put at 20, and then once it's approved by council and everything, there's 30-day period that police won't enforce it, then enforce. So that is, I think, also a very effective traffic calming.
Another question is, it strikes me that when you go into Spinnaker Point, suddenly it feels very different from, you've just been transiting the canal, either in canal itself or on Kerner. And suddenly, yeah, it's a lot wider. As soon as you get past the community center in Pickleweed Park, it's like it widens out, opens up. It's almost like, even if you don't intend to, you're naturally going to feel it's safer to accelerate. And it seems like if more could be done, maybe with the curbs to bulb out more, because they have these nice gentle sloping radii that, make those intersections feel wide open. And I guess that's a bigger project, but is there something that could be done with that? And that especially would help pedestrians to have less of a, span to get from curb to curb.
I think one of the purpose of the pilot was exactly that, to see these low costs very fast, do it and see the effectiveness. And then on Spinnaker or other street, whenever there's we don't have to wait to make it a project and spend a lot of money to, make it a city project with funding and contract, because this was done with minimum, even purchasing whatever city had and city forces and quickly put it. So that's what was a test, and we could apply to some other section of Spinnaker or other streets.
Bill?
Am I correct in thinking that this was a pilot program, that you view it as a success?
Success in terms of the data, but the success in terms of some success in terms of feedback too, but obviously not 100%.
We've heard calls citywide to implement this in other places. Like we've had people in Personal Park and people in Sun Valley and people in Terraland, just that I can remember comment and asking for whatever traffic calming, they want, speed bumps or speed hump, whatever you want. And like they come and ask for a lot of different things. And over the years, the answer has always been no. And so if this is a pilot project that is successful, is that something we might roll out elsewhere in the city when it's requested?
So one of my tasks, and I think it's in the city council goals, is to develop some kind of more objective traffic calming guidelines. I'm currently working on it, and hopefully it will go to Public Works Director and City Engineer, and then we will review it and take it to Traffic Committee. And because otherwise, if we don't have really tube counts and looking at volume for a weekend and timing and everything, it's just by people saying, "Oh, I saw somebody."
Sure.
I mean, I've seen people.
Yeah.
As a test, because that's my job. In other cities, I have the radar gun, exactly what ED has, and I see a car. It's so fast, but it's the noise or the size. It's so misleading.
Sure.
And then I see a car that's smooth. Say, "Oh my God, that was 55." Yeah. It's amazing. We actually have, and I know a traffic engineer which give the residents here, see what they drive for an hour for fun.
Yeah.
You're not close even to think that car was fast, but that's how it feels. I mean, I live in a residential street and people drive, and I think that's fast, but
I've used a radar gun too.
So.
I live in
so
Crystal Park, so I borrowed one time too.
The way we survey these is actually two that are 24 hours. And it counts the speed and also the volume and it gives you exactly each vehicle, the type of vehicle, and was it a truck? And obviously record even bicycle and everything. So that gives you really for the whole week, including weekend. So what we are developing is kind of very.
So there is something rolling out citywide, which would.
Yeah, and I would say this pilot project is helping inform some of the guidelines that we're gonna draft up for, review, and then we're definitely gonna bring it to this committee. And I would say, like, I think we've definitely got some takeaways from this, right? Like both like quantitative and qualitative, right? Some qualitative stuff is like, we really don't like these like huge delineators. And like our alternative is to use these like rubber curbs, which is a little bit more permanent, a little bit more costly, but we kind of figured out the geometry, right? Using the delineators, which we can reuse in other locations to kind of test out. So that's kind of great. And then one of the other things we noticed too is like there aren't people doing donuts at Catalina and Spinnaker anymore. So, that kind of demonstrated how the traffic circle, like served like that purpose, right? Amongst like other ones. So there are definitely some like takeaways. And for those who are interested in checking out the memo that's on our website, it also shows like kind of percent feedback from like the community, like percent that supports it, like it's like about 40%, or like who don't support or have questions or just concerns about timing and like where is this gonna go next. And one of the great things is that, traffic codes and regulations are always changing. So I don't think we ever really stop, right? We just kind of look at situations site by site and see what's appropriate at that time and location.
How did you fund this and how are you funding other traffic calming?
Yeah, so as part of our budget, we have our road safety implementation program, which is what we're dedicating towards like traffic calming projects or like others traffic safety improvements.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. If we were to go back to the study update and look at the statistics for bicycle and pedestrian accidents from 2018 to 2023 and look at those two intersections that you showed us on slide 35 and was it 34 before that, would we see any incidences there? I want to let up. I don't have my iPad right with me. I thought I printed it out, but and the reason I'm asking is I'm wondering why this particular neighborhood was chosen. There's some obvious reasons that I can guess. Big wide boulevards, people doing donuts, neighborhoods complaining. But in terms of, are there other motivators? And the reason I'm asking is was it because somebody asked to have it done, or was this part of the citywide bicycle pedestrian plan? And it was one of the identified, we need to do something here because it's serious. Well, let's go do this pilot project. Or were there enough complaints from residents or somebody on city council lives down there, whatever the paranoid reasoning might be?
My understanding with the game late, I kind of had exactly your questions, but it is the complaint and the number. I looked at the local roadway safety plan, it's not there, and I think I asked consultant, maybe he didn't put in the memo. I don't think it's accident driven, it's really what you mentioned.
I don't recall seeing any accidents there, but I didn't look carefully.
And this is all pre-2018, but nothing pre-2018.
Okay, but we have it on the website, 2018-23, if I'm not mistaken.
For the local road safety.
Accidents, pedestrian.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So that raises kind of a red flag for me because it means that rather than us, and this kind of goes back to let's update the master plan, let's update the citywide plan, and then instead of following that and priorities that are laid out, we get complaints from a particular neighborhood and we go into there. Now, maybe I have it wrong, but a couple of meetings ago, we watched about a path, we debated about a path being striped near the YMCA over by Kaiser and the sheriff's.
Los Gamos.
Right. And for the life of me, I rode that the other day, and I know you rode it, Joe, looking at it. For the life of me, I can't see why the heck that was a priority over certain areas where there's schools. So, and I'm not faulting anyone per se, I'm just wondering the mechanisms of government in the city and whether we're saying, yeah, let's spend a lot of time planning, but as soon as the squeaky wheel comes up, I hate to use the term, but we derail and go off on that tangent rather than sticking to our objective.
I think that's a really great question you're asking, Mark. And, for Spinnaker, there's been some history, with the timeline, it started over a year ago. And I think at that time, it was a council priority for this particular neighborhood or location. But I think that's why it's really important, the effort that Saeed's working on now, which is to come up with the guidelines, how do we identify locations and how do we identify what are the appropriate metrics to use? So that's going to really be a guiding
I
document.
can see how this would be helpful.
Yeah.
But I can also see spending a lot of time, I'll use another bad metaphor, or simile, spinning our wheels. Let's see how many bad transportation metaphors I can use. On producing documents that we don't follow. So that's one concern. The other concern is I know for a fact that fire departments don't like driving over bumps. But if we were in a municipality where those were elevated crosswalks, even just a little bit, they would drive right over them. They wouldn't even think about it. They might complain and swear and maybe name people specifically, but they'll do it. They'll do their job and they'll ride over them. So in my mind, just doing it, I'd say be more aggressive, put in elevated sidewalks. We are not doing enough at night for pedestrians in this city or any place in California. And there are such simple solutions to it that are not that much more cost effective. Why are we screwing around go to 35, please, for a second. Why are we screwing around with this? Why don't we just extend the concrete out to here?
That's a great question. I think.
Is a car gonna run over that now? No. If this was slightly elevated, would that slow them down? Somebody who wants to race through because it's wide, yes, that would slow them down. An extra curb here. So we're doing a lot of testing here. I'm not sure we're being.
I think there's a lot of other considerations with raised crosswalks. There's also drainage considerations.
And are those being applied here?
Well,
with the considerations, or is it
rubber curbs, it doesn't create the blockage to drainage. And the cost for doing concrete is higher than the rubber curbs as well. So there's a lot of different factors. And I think what you're saying makes sense, right? But there's just nothing's always simple.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but even the agencies that I work in, they were very, and they had guidelines for traffic calming, so it will be very objective. And we are kind of mimicking those agencies. But yes, that all fire departments, it has studies and they have specific, how much a circle, not a striped circle, a circle that has a tree in the middle, I work in Mountain View.
Or an elevated one?
Yeah, or
go to the Civic Center one.
How much it adds to the response time. So that we tell the residents that fire departments, well, it will add this. And if you put all around the city without guideline, then, those 5 second adds up. All the fire departments I have seen, they don't like the circle. They like more, they can live with speed hump, but not circle. And then the circles that we have designed, it's what they call it, mountable curb. So you still can drive over the curb. But that's the thing. We have to bring fire department, everybody together. And that's what they're reviewing. We have a guideline for traffic calming. Who starts it and how we resolve it and what counts and all the things we do and where it triggers this process and who has to sign ahead of time that, you know,
Right.
you can make
No, no,
50%
no, I
happy and
understand.
then another 50% opposed to.
It's just that I've been in a lot of cities and towns. I've seen lots of roundabouts and and they have fires and fire trucks and so presumably people aren't dying from fires not being extinguished in Glastonbury, Connecticut, where I was recently and saw many roundabouts. So, I don't, I'm glad to hear there's guidelines and you're following them. And I'm glad this is kind of analytical studies taking place. Now we just have to beat the city council into following the master plan.
I will say that, I think you're onto something with questioning, is it the squeaky wheel? Because the wheels out there are squeaky. I think,
Which is not a bad thing.
and that's fine, but there's also a pedestrian component because the Bay Trail wraps around that. And there's a lot of people.
I've walked,
Use
I've
the
ridden this area, right?
Yeah, I walk my dog there almost every day, and there's a lot of people who come on and off the Bay Trail from these side streets.
Mhm.
And so, would transit the neighborhood and must cross Spinnaker Point / Canal at some point to get onto the Bay side or onto the, new sports fields at Pickleweed, which are, amazing. So, there are a lot of people having to cross there. So, hopefully there haven't been, injury issues, but it's not to say that it shouldn't be a priority for that. There's also a claim by this commenter that there've been 2 cars that crashed into houses along the way there, which that's
Impressive.
right. I don't know what was going on, obviously. The tone is not exactly measured, so
Yeah.
it doesn't give us much to go off of, but in their minds, there's certainly a justification for their sense of urgency, so I don't want to.
I'm not saying it's bad to do it here. I'm just, again, if we're dealing with limited resources,
Yeah.
time, money, et cetera. Any comments or questions?
I just had a question about the plan you're developing. It's specific to kind of what you were saying is this plan only for how you address traffic calming measures, or is it also how you define a criteria for applying traffic calming measures?
May I just answer the question?
Please do.
Yeah, so this is for how to address the concept we are looking at. Traffic calming is really not, these are the tools, we call the tools or devices for traffic calming. So we are looking at effectiveness of these tools, and some of them has already been researched, so we know which one is more effective. But when we are developing criteria, it's just qualifying first. Does your street qualify? And if it qualifies, and that's it.
Okay.
But it's not subjective, it's very objective. We have to do a survey, but like we did here after the pilot, measure the speed. And then if it qualifies, we have to go back to community to really choose the tools. And that's what traffic committee and also what we have in the process, BPAC. And then once we choose the tool, it's the neighborhood to vote on it. So it's a longer process, but it's also could be initiated by city, not residents. So if we think that, we received these 5 locations at 5 corners of the street, let's go and do the survey, see which one make the cut. And then what tool to use. And that's why we are testing really here is the tools, which also, as I mentioned, there's a lot of research on different tools, what the speed hump effect, what are the benefits, disbenefits, or speed radar sign, how effective it is. So they're all the tools, and we can add this to our kind of research. And then obviously what tool, where to put it. If you have a route that goes to the mountain, and that's the only route that emergency vehicle take, well, they have a lot of say in it because you might reduce speed, but I don't want to put 5 circles and speed hump there because then that will impact the fire response.
It's compounds, yeah.
But are there tools to lower speed and also not increase? Speed radar sign, what we call is passive traffic calming where, it gives you information, it tells you to slow down, you're going fast, the message is variable, but it's not active like a speed bump or raised crosswalk, which is kind of speed hump. And then there are some chokers or bulb outs that really doesn't impact speed of fire truck, but it reduced the length of crosswalk for pedestrian safety. And so there's all those tools, and that comes later after we establish which street qualify. So we are planning to take that draft traffic calming principles and guidelines to traffic committee, and then with their comment, we will bring it to BPAC, and as much as we can guarantee, that's what we will follow.
Sure.
Okay.
I also have just a question about, is there a limitation on how many intersections you can congruently kind of start to manage at the same time? Is there, because it does sound like it's a rather involved process to go through that analyzation of each street and intersection.
What we have put in our guideline, which is very draft, is you first come, first serve, and also depends on time and funding. So, how many we generally in the beginning, if there are too many requests, but it will taper down. Yeah, it is also construction funding
Sure.
and staff time and all those.
And then my last thing is kind of a silly hypothetical question of just the disparity between a car tire and a fire truck tire. Is there a height of curb that would affect the car tire and not affect the fire truck tire?
Yeah, the speed humps are, some of them are designed in the gap where the fire truck can go without getting impacted, and the cars, even if you try to avoid it, it will hit.
Right.
Yeah.
One side you will go through the thing, but the other side will hit. So there are those designs.
Okay.
Fire
Yeah.
department knows that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we actually did some measurements of our specific fire trucks so that we can use that for future like pilot locations of speed humps. So, that's a really great question, actually. There is a difference, and
Yeah.
so we've been working with our emergency services team to make sure whatever we're putting out there, has as low impact as possible to like response times.
I'm going to move it along a little bit because it's 10:08 already, and we have a couple more agenda items. So thank you very much. Good presentation. Appreciate it. And we do accept the report as we did the last couple. So any other reports, staff liaisons?
Yep. I have the first one. It's for the citywide bicycle and pedestrian plan update. As you may know, our engagement phase 1 finished in the end of June. So that was for collecting input and feedback on any of the existing networks, how people were using them, where they liked, where they didn't like, where they thought there were gaps. So we collected all of that information, compiled it, and developed a draft network for bicycles and pedestrians, and alongside with project prioritization for all of the projects that were in the previous plan, and then any new projects based on what feedback was collected. So that will lead us into engagement phase 2, which will include both of the draft network plans for bicycles and pedestrians, and then all of the projects. And that will also highlight the top 20 priority projects. And we're going to bring that information to our first event, which is this Saturday, the Canal Alliance Nuestro Futuro event on Saturday, October 4th. So if you're interested in seeing any of the outreach material that will be available October 20th, you can get a little preview at the October 4th event. It starts at 11 to 2. And it's 711 Grand Avenue.
11 to 711.
And then we will also have more engagement events in the future. Right now, we have planned tentatively an open house on November 19th. We also have a virtual event. But yeah, if you're interested in continuing along following this project, you haven't done so yet, the QR code to sign up for reminders via email is on there. And then there's also the website linked, which is where the web map to provide comments on October 20th will be released, so you can keep track of everything going on in the project. Give you 1 second.
Anything else?
Yes.
Go
The
for
next
it.
one I also am going to be talking about is the Embarcadero one-way conversion pilot project. This was brought up in the June meeting as a staff liaison update.
Right.
It's a segment of road that we are looking at converting to a one-way as a pilot project because of safety concerns that were raised in this area and due to the width of the road being pretty narrow, and it's in between a high school and neighbors. So a lot of people are using that to get to and from their houses or to the high school. So currently we just finished taking volume counts last month, and we're using that along with community feedback collected previously, emergency response needs in the area, and traffic data. We're taking all of that and identifying a direction for the one-way pilot. And we right now are thinking that the pilot will start early 2026. On the map here, you can see where the volumes were taken with the little green bars. And then the purple line is the segment that would be one way. And there's also a QR code on there if you want to see the project website.
Is the opening one way been added already? Got that one figured out?
The direction of the one way has not been figured out yet.
Well, you're gonna get a lot of phone calls on that one.
And we will also be back at the next BPAC meeting to give a full presentation on this project. So you'll be able to provide feedback then.
We didn't show the county line, but most of those streets, majority of them are county, so we are closely coordinating on our bi-weekly meeting, the county, the traffic engineer and their senior engineers with us, and also they're helping us with the outreach and sending the mailers, and also with their board of supervisors that this is coming. So every step they will be involved too.
Okay. Kelly?
This one I'll quickly talk about. This one, I think I pointed out to it. So the new law allows us as of June, although the AB 43 was passed long before, but as of June of 30, 2024, it allows the local agencies and the state to lower speed. Previously in business districts and residential areas, it was prima facie speed without survey, 25 miles per hour. If it qualifies for that kind of street, now you can reduce it up to 20 miles per hour. And we did the first phase around downtown, and most of those streets, the sign has been changed, but we might need to add more signs for PD to enforce it. Obviously, they won't enforce for 30 days, but this was. So we're looking for feedback. You might see more sign of these once PD looks at it. The phase 2 of this is outside downtown. So we have, through our own observation, staff and history and SQL effects and all of those, we have thought about some street that could benefit, at least for the study, if they qualify. So that's the second phase that has been started. Do we have kind of timeline when it will be finished? Maybe. Yeah, I think we'll finish the study at least end of this year, and then we can implement additional. And that this includes off down street that currently maybe 35 or 40, one of them being Point San Pedro. And so that looking at reduction of speed at that area too, even if it's 5 miles per hour. But some of the streets we are looking at 20 miles per hour.
Okay. Oscamos.
Yeah, this one. So I think some of the complaint was about the bike lanes. It is relatively narrow, and then the way the cars were parked there. So I did some observation and some cars were really encroaching into bike lane and even, you know, taking half of the bike lane. So that thing was real and in order to help the cars, the lane that you see parking was 8 feet, which is city standard. But you know, the context sensitive design, we thought we can make it 7 feet and at least give him guide and push. And most car can park 7 feet is enough to allow that kind of buffer between the cars and also guide the cars where to park. In terms of the crosswalk near Y, because the city removed parking on the other side, because the other side there's no parking bike lane, and there's a lot of people. We also observed that there are a lot of people parked. The parking lot is not enough. They park on the street on this side and then they jaywalk across everywhere. So this is an attempt to make them cross one location and also adding due to the street wet and also speed. We have to add we added the RRFBs and with push buttons. I understand your previous comment, but this wasn't like it. If you looked at it its own, it has the merit to do it, both for the bicyclist and also crosser. But obviously, you're right in terms of citywide kind of priority, following the plan, following the bike and ped plan and all of those, and also following the local roadway safety plan. We're also developing, I think, Vision Zero with local roadway safety plan. So those are really a very objective guideline. The Vision Zero is policy, but local roadway safety plan, which was developed by the county and cities included, that gives you real data. Which intersection had more collision, which segment has to do work.
In a minor defense of this, it all happened because it got repaid. It was part of the repaving program. And they added the stripes in and then they noticed, so it's sort of like fixing. So I get why this one was there.
Yeah, I wasn't criticizing the project per se. I'm criticizing it in context of, geez, we had somebody die in July on a bicycle and hitting a car in an area.
Last week.
Somebody died, right, exactly. So there's clearly other places that have been identified as weak spots. And not that this isn't an issue, not that it doesn't deserve a resolution, but prioritizing and then looking at just draft ideas, like a boatload of stuff to do, right? More to do than there is time and money, so. Staff and resources.
One question, you mentioned the context specific design, and I think this is a smart solution, that extra striping to encourage people to get closer. I mean, you can see there's a Jeep, looks like it's fairly wide axled, but fits within the stripes there. So that's nice to see. And I'm wondering, can that mindset be applied in other projects, to help? Because, we've all been in there where we're in the bike lane, but, you're worried about getting doored because the car is right there at that limit.
Definitely. I actually just suggested if you have room, is the door zone is almost 3 feet.
Yeah.
So if you have 8 feet standard, then some cities, when the special streets are wide enough, they have room, they have 3 feet of zone, door zone. So that would be really safe.
Right.
And obviously the other designs are putting the bike lane next to curb and the cars are parked there, so it create a buffer. And those one, definitely. I did some in Mountain View, and the last time I went there, I saw a lot of them, and even on Camino Real. So state is on board, Camino Real is part of the state, but they are on board with, bicycle pedestrian.
Okay.
So.
Moving along, any other reports? Any questions or comments since I started off on there? Any commissioner reports? Those are all good reports, by the way. Thank you very much. Commissioner. Any commissioner reports? Okay. Open time for public expression about anything that wasn't on this agenda. Go ahead, Joe.
Sure, just quickly talking about the identifying the weak spots. One other thing I want to mention was that a pedestrian was struck on Point San Pedro Road at Balboa Street on September 5th. They were hospitalized and sustained injuries from the waist down. There's also a couple check your speed signs on Point San Pedro from the Street Smarts Eyes Up program, which I think is wonderful. It's a countywide type program. I'm not sure if it's a city jurisdiction, but the signs on the light posts are really, really high up and you can't see them. So I don't know if it's city or county, but if you could bring them down and closer to eye level for a driver, maybe a gravel truck could see it if they were looking way up. But facetious, I think they just need to be dropped down. And if you could put more of them out there, that would be great, because I think Point San Pedro would be a great place to put those street smarts eyes up type signs. Ironically, your eyes have to be looking very high up to see them. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that there's been this situation with the ghost bike for Chris Bernietti, where it was gone, and then it's pretty sad to see that the widow had to put a sign up there and said, "Where did the ghost bike go?" And then it was replaced. And I just drove by there today, and it's all gone. And I'm just wondering if the city knows anything about this.
Can you repeat it? What was?
Is a ghost bike, which is like a memorial for the person who was killed on Leah and Frida's. And so the kids from the high school Terralenda mountain bike team, who that person that died coached, they're the ones that made this memorial a white bike. And then it was gone. Then the widows put a giant sign and said, "Hey, who took this?" And then it was back, but now it's gone again. And I'm just curious if anybody knows what happened.
It was removed today by DPW. We've been working with the family because there's like a roadside memorial ordinance and it needs to be registered. So that's still something we're working with the family on in order for the bike to remain. But anyone who wants to, claim the bike or take it, they could just come and contact DPW.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Brings up another question. Did the city remove the ghost bike for Peter Grace on Anderson Drive where the railroad tracks are?
I'm not sure. I don't have any context on that.
Got it. I mean, it was some time back, but at first I thought it might have been some unhoused people, but I'm curious if this is a practice that the city's been doing for.
The ordinance is pretty new. It was probably just like a couple months ago when it went through city council.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, I read something in the IJ that
Yeah,
they've been
understood.
revising it.
Yep, got it. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for raising those issues, Joe.
Sure.
Anything else, anybody? Right. And unless there's objections, I'm going to.
One thing, especially when we're talking about plans for the future, 3 and 5 year, anytime that you could give us slides before the meeting, it's very helpful for me to review them beforehand. Like I was thinking of the Redwood Bike Share, I would love to be able to see all those maps. And if the 3 and 5 year maintenance plan comes, it's great to spend some time beforehand to look at it before the meeting. I know sometimes we're putting these presentations together last minute, but some of those map heavy ones would be very, very helpful in the future. That's just my comment.
We might be able to.
We'll do what we can. I think if you notice in the agenda, we try adding it in a blurb. And we're trying to just kind of spruce up like our agenda packet so that people do have a little bit more context.
Like when there's maps,
Yeah.
like it's hard to see them there and I wish I could have, spent some time.
Right. Yeah. I think we're gonna probably try to do more information on our websites if we can beforehand and provide like a link. But yeah, no, definitely no taken and we understand.
But because a
Yeah.
lot of that could be posted, several days before.
If the presentation's done.
Correct. If the presentation is complete. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.